All right, so I figured I'd just make a quick guide here on how to get these hella horns going. Quick caveat that, I'm not a mechanic, I am not an electrical engineer, so this is all I just took my own path here, didn't find a lot of resources online, so it's working for me. So follow this at your own risk. I'm not responsible for any issues you may encounter if you follow this guide. But basically, you can see I've got my hella horns here. I've got them mounted with the Noble bracket. Got them all wired in at this point. So the way that I wired these was when you take your front bumper off and you start looking, you're gonna see there's gonna be a horn here, right? And then if you come over to the other side, there's gonna be a horn here on this nut. So I've just got these nuts put back in place for now. This is what the passenger side looks like. It's got this bracket that attaches it, and then the driver's side does not have a bracket, but it's about the same, right? And they both have this plug on the end, usually. I can't really get it out with one hand, but it's got this little push guy on here. You're just gonna unplug that. Makes it really easy to work with. So my horns, when I bought them, they came with this relay. I assume that anyone who's buying a hella horn is probably gonna get the same one that I did, or at least a similar one. They're gonna come in this box. It comes with a 12-volt relay. As you can see that on the side, they also give you a little bit of a wiring guide. So the interesting thing that I saw was there were some people on the subreddit that were talking about, you should have put the relay in place, that they felt weak or whatever. I don't see why you would need 2 relays. And the reason I say 2 is because there's the one that they provide, right? That came in the box. But if you look in your fuse box, this right here, this is the horn relay. If you unplug your stock horns, both of them, and you sit and you just whack on the horn a bunch of times, you'll hear this relay clicking on and off. And I confirmed if you pull it out, well, I'm not gonna do it right now, but if you pull it out, you'll hear that the clicking stops. So there is a 12-volt relay in here. I pulled mine out and I tested it with my multimeter. It's 12 volts. So the only concern that I could see maybe about needing the other relay is if there's some issue with the amount of current that these horns pull. I'm not an electrical engineer. I'm not one to comment on that. I'm using 16 gauge wire, which is thicker than the wire that was in place, so I'm not too concerned about it, especially for how infrequently horns are generally held on for. It's not like they're gonna be running for minutes or even hours at a time. So the basic wiring, the polarity of this doesn't matter. You can have positive or negative on either lead as long as you're not doing both positive, both negative. Obviously that won't work. It's all zip tied in place, so it's kind of hard to tell, but I've got my grounds just connected with a butt connector. You might be able to just barely, if you see that blue back there, that's a butt connector where I have one short lead coming from here, one slightly longer lead coming from over here. They meet and I bring them into one wire. That one wire, I then have it routed underneath and it comes around, and then I zip tied it. You can see the zip tie to this guy, and you follow it all the way down. And it will actually bring you right into this compartment in here. So the way I have mine grounded out is the stock horns, they're grounded through their mounting bracket. They only have one plug. There's no wire connected here, though you could use this as a ground if you really wanted to, if you wanted to leave it mounted that way. I need to get some more hardware, so right now I just have it screwed in with the bolt, but I'm going to replace that with a proper crimp and everything. But for temporary, it works good enough. If you felt strongly about using the relay, I did find that you could take this nut off of your windshield wiper fluid mount, and this actually slides right over it with a little bit of force. You can see mine actually cracks just a little bit, but it doesn't really matter. So you can put that on, put the nut back on, and then the bumper should clear it just fine. Alternatively, you can mount it here where the old horn was. You would need to drill this out because this is a larger bolt, but you could mount it there. The big gag with this, and this is what I was originally going to do, is you need to find a 12-volt line somewhere. So this is a brand new car. I don't really feel like trying to figure out how to get a wire, getting 12 volts all the way down there. You could do something messy and just slap it on. If this was an old Civic or something, maybe I would, but I want to try and keep the install as clean as possible. There's already a relay in place that's supplying 12 volts. These can only be drawing so much current. I don't know. I think it's fine. So that's how I got that hooked up. This is the wire where this guy used to go. Oops, I actually just pulled the insulation off. So this wire that I cut, that was right here. All right, I just put a butt connector on. That wire then goes up and it follows, it goes right with the ground, and it comes all the way over, following that same path that I showed. And I have it going into this driver's side horn. In case there is a concern about current potentially, because these wires down here, if you actually look at the original one, this looks like it might be like an 18 gauge, maybe 16 gauge, I'm not sure. Probably more like 18, because I'm using 16 if I remember correctly. So just to be safe, I'm only putting each horn on its own switch. The grounds, I'm not too concerned about. I mean, well, I guess I'm contradicting myself there. I don't know. I think it's fine. So this other one on the driver, or the passenger side, sorry, its control is going the other way. So you can see here's the wire there. I just have it kind of tucked up. You can kind of zip tie it as best you can. And I found that it's following underneath here, and then there's a little gap right here, which I just slipped it right down through there. That's gonna drop it down. It's really hard to see, but you'll end up running into this cable. You can see the zip tie. So I just zip tied it there and then followed it all the way down. And again, here's my original horn connector where my passenger side horn was, butt connector to the new thing. No relay, it's all using the existing OEM wiring, just butt connectors. The hardest part was just routing the wire in my experience so far, but it does work. I'll give you a quick sample. So when I click the horn on, that sounds plenty loud to me. I'm not sure. Maybe it's supposed to be louder. Maybe you guys can tell me. But yeah, if you have any other specific questions, I guess just let me know. But that's how I did it.